I found a lipstick that wasn't mine in my husband's car and confronted the intern. You don't have to play these games. Take it back. That evening, Daniel found me. It was pouring rain. I just gave her a ride. She's timid. Don't scare her. I nodded and handed him the signed divorce papers. I didn't threaten her. I just told her she'd have to wait her turn. Daniel frowned. Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. He crumpled the divorce agreement in his hand, his face darkening. Just because I gave her a ride home and she accidentally left a lipstick in my car, you want to divorce me? I stared at him, my face a blank mask, not responding immediately, but he grew impatient and roared, say something. I didn't understand why he was angry. Anyone would have thought it was my fault. If it were as simple as he claimed, would a woman who loved Daniel as much as I did be willing to divorce him? I had been with him from his humble beginnings to his current status as CEO. Daniel, wasn't I the one who was supposed to enjoy everything he had? When did Daniel start to change? He stopped talking to me during meals, instead smiling at his phone as he replied to someone. He started working late more frequently, always waiting until I was asleep and then sleeping in the study, claiming he didn't want to disturb me. When I brought up having children, he was always dismissive, either rushing through the act or saying he was too tired. Wasn't this the classic behavior of a man saving himself for someone else after his heart had strayed? That's right. I can't tolerate even a grain of sand in my eye. Unless you fire her and make her leave this city. But how could Daniel bear to do that? Hearing my words, the anger in his eyes intensified, his voice devoid of warmth. I never knew you were such a jealous person. I guess I spoiled you. I laughed, my eyes welling up. Her, or a divorce. You choose. Daniel stormed out, but before he left, he said, you'd better think carefully. Plenty of people would kill to be in your position. I felt nothing. My position wasn't so easy to fill. Countless social dinners, forcing smiles for them. I had earned a reputation for being able to hold my liquor while helping Daniel build his career, so everyone wanted to toast me. What they didn't know was that I earned that title by drinking until I had a perforated stomach. Daniel's refusal to sign the divorce papers only confirmed my belief that he was unwilling to split our assets. I didn't think a man whose heart had changed would have any lingering affection for his old love. If there was anything, it was guilt, and this was his way of easing it. That night, I moved out of the villa we had lived in since our marriage and went to an apartment I owned. I had never liked large spaces, preferring to curl up in a small corner. It gave me a sense of security. Daniel disapproved, believing that a larger house signified a higher status, but later, he would spend his time huddled with that intern in her tiny, old rented room. Of course, Daniel knew I had moved out, but he didn't stop me. Instead, he sent his secretary, Mr. Adams, ma'am, Mr. Zhao asked me to pass on a message. He said you can throw a tantrum, but you must attend the banquet the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow was his grandmother's 80th birthday, and Daniel was planning a lavish celebration. I recalled that the old woman disliked me, and I felt little enthusiasm, but she was a formidable woman who had single-handedly raised Daniel after he was orphaned, so he respected her deeply. Since we weren't divorced yet, any negative press that caused the company's stock to fall would also affect my settlement. So, even if Daniel hadn't sent a message, I would have gone. As soon as I entered the hall, I saw her. Isabel, dressed in an expensive gown, was at the old woman's side, chatting intimately. I was surprised. No wonder Daniel valued her so much. His grandmother liked her too. When they saw me, their expressions soured. The old woman's was one of disgust, while Isabel's was one of timid fear. I didn't know who she was performing for. I had only ever spoken one sentence to her. Daniel, in a tailored suit, walked up to me, his face grim. Everyone else had arrived. I was the last one. You're always so punctual. Why are you late today? Grandma is very angry. Go and apologize to her. I looked at him, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. Apologize. Maybe in the past, but now, impossible. I used to arrive early, and his grandmother would order me around in the kitchen, saying she wanted to eat my cooking, but whenever I prepared the food, she wouldn't touch a bite. Daniel had tried to help, eating what his grandmother wouldn't, but after just one bite from him, she would have the servants take it away to feed the dogs. She had her reasons for disliking me. The Zhao family had once been wealthy before going bankrupt. Daniel had fought his way back, but then he had disgraced himself by marrying me, an orphan. The old woman wanted a match of equal social standing. I had heard Isabel's family was quite wealthy, but she claimed she wanted to experience the real world and had forbidden her family from helping her. Perhaps the old woman found that quality admirable. I handed the gift to the assistant beside the old woman and said with a smile, "Grandma, Your granddaughter-in-law wishes you a long and happy life. I have other matters to attend to, so we'll be leaving now. I turned to go, but the old woman's voice boomed, "Stop." Ignoring Daniel's dark expression, I turned back and smiled at her. "Is something wrong, Grandma?" My attitude sent her into a fit of rage, her chest heaving as she muttered that I had gone rogue. At that moment, Isabel rushed over, pleading with me. "Olivia, you should kneel and apologize to Grandma. Don't argue with her. If something happens, you'll regret it." I frowned. Honestly, I didn't know Isabel and I were close enough for her to say such things to me. Olivia, was that a name she was allowed to use? Who do you think you are? Anyone would think you were Mrs. Zhao. Is Olivia something you can call me? My voice wasn't quiet. Everyone around us heard. Their faces registered shock, not expecting me to air our dirty laundry in public. Isabel's face went white at my bluntness. As people started to whisper, her eyes reddened. She looked at Daniel, then covered her face and ran out. I felt a sense of satisfaction. The old woman, enraged, raised her cane to strike me, but Daniel caught it. "Grandma, I'll discipline her. Please don't be angry, Mr. Adams." Quickly tried to liven up the party, but I knew I had ruined the birthday celebration. Daniel dragged me out to a secluded courtyard, his eyes devoid of warmth, his voice was flat. "You just had to make a scene, didn't you?" I smiled. "What scene? Are you talking about me targeting your little mistress?" He had brought Isabel here today. Did he ever consider my feelings? "There's nothing between us. Grandma just likes her, so I asked her to come and keep her company. Can you please stop this, Olivia?" Daniel pinched the bridge of his nose, a sign of exhaustion, hoping I would yield. Just like in the past, whenever he looked like this after a tiring business deal, I would feel a pang of sympathy for him. His excuse was perfect, designed to make me the one at fault, so I stood my ground. "Divorce or her, you choose." Seeing my unwavering resolve, his thin lips pressed into a line, his eyes flashing with cold fury. "I'll send her away." Honestly, hearing him say he would send Isabel away brought me no joy. Was this what it felt like to be completely disillusioned? Daniel didn't know that this divorce was non-negotiable, and he would never break things off with Isabel, because a few days later, the media photographed Daniel holding hands with a strange woman. It was Isabel. The manicurists looked at me, hesitant to speak. I just smiled. It was fine. This was the last time I would be getting my nails done as Mrs. Zhao anyway. I was tired, since Daniel wouldn't agree to a divorce, wanting to keep me tied down. He couldn't blame me for going after Isabel, but before I could act, she came to me with a provocation. She explained with a look of utter grievance. "Olivia, the media is lying. Daniel and I are just friends. We've never crossed any lines. He was just worried about me, a single girl, going home late, so he gave me a ride." Olivia, anyone can doubt Daniel, but you have to believe him. He's been so stressed with a project lately. You need to stand behind him, be his pillar of support. Slap. Before she could finish, I had already slapped her across the face. I knew her game. She was deliberately provoking me, hoping I would lose control and do something while Daniel was watching. So I gave her what she wanted. Olivia, Daniel, who had just gotten out of his car, his expression dark, yanked me away forcefully. I stumbled, nearly losing my footing. At the same time, a camera shutter clicked in the distance. I curved my lips into a smile, seeing the hidden paparazzi. Daniel looked at me in disbelief. "You called them?" I looked at him. "Divorce. And I get my fair share. Otherwise, tomorrow's headlines will be about you beating your wife over your mistress, and the company's stock will plummet. Daniel, don't forget, I was with you from the very beginning. I know how much you care about your reputation." He stood there, his eyes locked on mine, his expression grim. He asked, "Olivia, are you really willing to give all this up?" I wasn't, but I was tired of seeing the evidence of his lost love. I wanted to leave with the last shred of my dignity and live alone. I felt it wasn't too late. I didn't want to become a bitter, jealous woman. "Daniel, you betrayed me." He was silent for a long time. "I'll have my lawyer draft the agreement." I smiled, relieved. That night, Daniel slept with Isabel. How did I know? Because she would never miss an opportunity to taunt me. The sight of Daniel's relaxed, sleeping face in the photo she sent stung my eyes. I knew he was finally free of guilt. The financial ties between us were too deep, so the agreement wasn't finalized quickly. I packed my bags and went on a trip abroad, listening to a slow violin melody on a street corner. I remembered the early days with Daniel. In our rented room, he would fan me, his face beaded with sweat. "Honey, I swear, I will never let you suffer again. And I won't let Grandma collect bottles anymore." The old woman had stopped secretly collecting bottles. but I had become the cast-off wife. But I was only 32. After 2 months of traveling, the lawyer contacted me. The agreement was ready. Daniel hadn't contacted me once. I understood. He was in the suite, fresh stage with Isabel, several properties and 2 luxury cars. I sold them all, with everything else. My bank account now held 1 billion. On the day he signed, Daniel couldn't resist a sarcastic comment. All this for 1 billion. Olivia, couldn't you have a little more dignity? I didn't care what he said. For someone with my modest needs, 1 billion could last a lifetime. Before he left, he added, Isabel is pregnant. You'd better stay away from her. My heart skipped a beat. I watched his retreating back. Daniel didn't know that I was also 2 months pregnant. I had no intention of keeping it, so I didn't say anything. But I suddenly felt a wave of annoyance. Why did a divorce require a 1-month cooling-off period? I didn't want to wait another second, and I certainly wouldn't regret it. The day I was scheduled for my abortion, I found that Isabel could always pinpoint my location. I assumed it was the work of Daniel's resourceful secretary, Mr. Adams. Olivia, I heard you and Daniel divorced. I came to see how you're doing. Olivia, you're not very smart. If I were you, I would never have divorced him. I would have given birth to the Zhao family heir and held the entire company in my hands. Yes, I wasn't as clever as Isabel. I was even planning to abort the Zhao family heir in my womb. If you're too idle, you'll get dementia when you're old. How about this? Olivia, you take good care of me, and when my child with Daniel is born, you can help raise them. I'll tell Daniel to give you a room in our marital home. How about that? Isabel said this with a smug look on her face. I looked at her coldly and couldn't help but scoff. I'm a billionaire. Can you afford me? I heard your family got lucky and won 10 million in the lottery, but you told the old woman you owned a public company. If she found out, wouldn't she skin you alive? You are who you are. If I were as shameless as you, do you think you would be the one giving birth to the Zhao family heir? Get out of my way. Seeing a demon so early in the morning is truly unpleasant. Thinking of my scheduled abortion and the elevator that never came, I had no patience for her. I turned to take the stairs, but Isabel, her face flushed with anger from my words, chased after me and grabbed my arm. Olivia, you haven't agreed to my proposal. You can't leave. But then, a dramatic turn of events. In the struggle, we both tumbled down the stairs. Seeing the blood pooling between my legs, my last thought before I passed out was, well, this saves me the trouble of a procedure. But coincidentally, Isabel also miscarried. When I woke up, I saw Daniel sitting grimly in the hospital room. He was shrouded in darkness, as if he had come to claim my life. His voice was chilling. Why can't you just let me have my way? I didn't know you were so jealous. If I had known, I never would have told you Isabel was pregnant. Olivia, the one thing I've always wanted in my life is my own child, and you've destroyed that. Isabel miscarried. Are you satisfied now? I looked at this man, my face pale, unable to believe he could accuse me so blindly. He wanted his own child, or did he want a child with her? Then what about my child? I finally broke down in tears, but I couldn't stop the sarcastic laugh that escaped my lips. Yes, I was jealous. I was bitter. I wanted her dead. Daniel lunged at me, his hands closing around my neck in a furious grip. He said something that I would never forgive him for. I wish you were dead. Don't you dare play the victim with me. I know you also miscarried. He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with intense hatred. You were abroad for 2 months. Who knows whose child it was? The last thread of my sanity snapped. I grabbed a glass of water from the nightstand and threw it at him. Blood immediately seeped from his forehead. He released me, his eyes dark and menacing. Get out, and don't ever let me see you again. I didn't see Daniel again. The only person who took care of things for me was Mr. Adams. On the day I was discharged, I told him, stop telling people where I am, or I'll sue you. I'm sorry, Ma. Ms. Shen. It won't happen again. You and Mr. Zhao are divorced. I have no reason to unconditionally disclose your whereabouts to Ms. Lee. Unconditionally satisfy Isabel's requests. Daniel really did treasure her. I moved to another city and opened a flower shop. Being surrounded by fresh flowers and plants every day, my mood gradually started to improve. But in the dead of night, I would dream, again and again, of the hatred in his eyes. I couldn't understand how love could turn into this. I heard Daniel and Isabel were engaged, with the wedding in a month. How did I know? Because it was trending online for days. As for me, the ex-wife, there were only a few brief mentions. Their relationship had faded, and they had been separated and planning a divorce for a long time. It didn't take a genius to figure out Daniel had paid for that narrative. After becoming wealthy, He had become incredibly concerned with his public image. He would never allow himself to be portrayed as a complete heartless scoundrel. I heard Isabel was pregnant again. I didn't know Daniel was so capable. Whatever. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. Just before closing time, someone pushed open my shop door. I looked up. It was Mr. Adams. MS. Shen. Long time no see. I frowned. Seeing the resourceful Mr. Adams never brought me any joy. I glanced past him. A Rolls-Royce was parked outside. In the back sat Daniel and Isabel. Mr. Zhao's wedding is next month. MS. Lee would like to order the flowers from your shop. Would that be convenient for you? Convenient for what? Mr. Adams pursed his lips. Would it be convenient for you to close the shop for a few days to focus solely on the wedding arrangements? I shook my head. Not convenient. Tell her to order from somewhere else. Mr. Adams nodded and turned to leave. I sighed. Sometimes, the more you try to avoid something, the more it persists. Just like now, they were still trying to involve me, having the ex-wife create the flower arrangements for their wedding. Who comes up with these ideas? A moment later, Daniel and Isabel entered the shop. Daniel stood there, silent, just looking at me. Isabel spoke first. Olivia, it's foolish not to make money when you can. You may be the cast-off wife, but there's no need to be difficult with money, is there? Sorry, I don't need the money. As I said this, I looked at Daniel, my eyes full of scorn, his brow furrowed, his deep voice tinged with annoyance. Olivia, name your price. I smiled coldly. 1 billion, non-negotiable. Isabel glared at me. Olivia, we genuinely want to do business with you. You could at least be sincere and give a real price. My husband's money doesn't grow on trees. I don't need your business. If you don't agree, then get out. Don't keep me from closing up. Everyone knew I opened this flower shop for fun. Isabel just wanted to flaunt her victory in my face, but only she would treasure a disgusting man like Daniel. The price of 1 billion earned me a tirade from Isabel, while Daniel's face remained grim. Finally, seeing I was ignoring them, they left in a huff. I smirked, locked up, and went to my favorite hot pot restaurant. I thought that would be the end of it, but then Daniel's grandmother showed up. The entourage she traveled with made it look like a dignitary was in town. Olivia, I'm here today to tell you to respect the couple's wishes and prepare the flowers for their wedding. I put down my nail clippers and glanced at her. Who do you think you are? Hearing this, the old woman nearly fainted from anger. She couldn't believe that the woman who used to be so obedient to her had become like this. Have you been possessed? Look who you're talking to. When Daniel wanted to marry you, I was the first to object, but I couldn't stop him. Look at you, so ungraceful, with such a fiery, aggressive temper. How are you in any way fit to be the mistress of the Zhao family? I rolled my eyes. If it weren't for my fiery, aggressive temper, Daniel's business wouldn't have been so successful. It was me who stormed into another company's office to demand payment for him. It was me who used my sharp tongue at the dinner table to humiliate his opponents and protect his reputation and precarious interests. It was me. Yes, it was all me. Why did they think I was no good now? I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a nearby broom and chased them all out. The old woman stumbled backward, nearly falling. Furious, they all got into their car and sped off. But I just felt a sense of release. That night, Daniel drove to my shop alone. His face was blank. He just stood there, watching me. I didn't look up. If you're not buying, get out. I'd like to order 999 roses for my wife. My hands paused. I looked up and smiled. 10 million, non-negotiable. The sound of a successful transaction chimed. I pulled out a pre-made bouquet of 999 roses from the storage room. Here you go. No delivery. Daniel's lips tightened. He finally revealed his true purpose for being here. You shouldn't have treated grandma like that. I slammed down my scissors. Clang. Who are you? Who is your grandmother? And in what capacity are you saying this? An old woman who doesn't respect herself doesn't deserve my respect. Daniel, I'm only now realizing how many benefits there are to being divorced from you. I was tired of serving your grandmother a long time ago. All of you disgust me. Take the flowers for your little mistress wife and get out of my shop. If you ever show your face in here again, I'll leak all your dirty secrets to the media. And 10 billion won't be enough to buy my silence then. Daniel didn't come back. I knew he cared too much about his reputation. Daniel and Isabel's wedding was grand, reportedly costing several hundred million. The old woman was beaming, holding Isabel's mother's hand and chatting away. A stark contrast to the dark face she had worn at my wedding to Daniel. One was heaven, the other, hell. How did I know? Because it was broadcast on television. I laughed coldly, finding it all so ironic. I heard Isabel had placed all her relatives in positions at Daniel's company. How did I know? I ran into the former finance manager, who tearfully told me everything. Isabel was now in charge of the company's finances and was incredibly stingy with all non-relative employees. I remembered an old classmate of mine, a very capable man who had been pushed out of his company by his colleagues. I had wanted to help him and had mentioned to Daniel if he could get a job at his company. His response was, "We have no shortage of talent. We don't just hire any stray cat or dog." He wouldn't even help one person, let alone let anyone near his finances. I thought I should just let it go, because sometimes, life is just like that, so worthless, it makes you question everything. I stopped paying attention to them and focused on my own life. But soon, Daniel faced his first crisis. His brother-in-law was sued by his workers for unpaid wages. It became a big scandal. An investigation revealed that the brother-in-law had gambled all the money away. Daniel was furious. Isabel knelt before him, pregnant, and begged for mercy. His heart softened, and he cleaned up the mess. When I heard about it, I just smiled, because my business was doing well. I hired 2 deaf-mute girls and expanded the shop. I started learning sign language and getting involved in charity work, building roads and schools in remote areas. I was busy and happy. When I returned 6 months later, Jenna, one of the girls, signed to me that a gentleman had been coming to the shop, always buying 999 roses for his wife. I smirked, feeling like he was a ghost I couldn't shake. Later, I learned that the past 6 months had not been easy for Daniel. After dealing with his brother-in-law, his father-in-law got into trouble. Apparently, the father-in-law, unwilling to live an ordinary life, dreamed of becoming a business tycoon and was investing everywhere. The money, of course, was secretly given to him by his daughter, Isabel, the company's CFO. By the time Daniel found out, he had lost 500 million. So, he had to take his father-in-law under his wing and teach him business. The first step was naturally networking dinners, but the father-in-law, with no sense of propriety, got drunk and boasted to a potential partner about his past glory, calling them all small fry. The deal fell through, and the other company declared they would never work with the Zhao Corporation again. Furious, Daniel yelled at Isabel, but seeing her on the verge of giving birth, he softened again. He waved it off, saying to forget it. I couldn't help but marvel. Daniel truly loved Isabel. After my return, I started planning to open supermarkets in resource-scarce areas. Some thought it wouldn't be profitable, but I didn't care. I was rich. When the money ran out, we'd see. But the supermarket, with its wide variety, fresh daily produce, and low prices, and with me occasionally bringing local specialties from City A as freebies, actually became quite famous. Seeing the smiles on the faces of the elderly who could finally afford fresh food filled my heart with a growing sense of satisfaction. But while some rise, others must fall. Isabel's child was born, but with an intellectual disability. Daniel was shocked. His family had no history of such conditions for 3 generations. He had Mr. Adams investigate Isabel's family and discovered that her grandmother was born with an intellectual disability, so was her 6th uncle, and her cousin, and now, her child. The old woman cried so hard she fainted. She was already deeply resentful of Isabel's brother's actions. Now, with her grandson's condition, she hated Isabel. She told Daniel to divorce her. Daniel didn't dare tell his grandmother about what Isabel's father had done, or she would have coughed up blood. A wave of regret washed over him. He suddenly thought of his ex-wife, Olivia, that fiery, aggressive, yet elegant and poised woman. He used to think Olivia was too much trouble, but now he saw she was the least trouble of all. Later, he checked the date of Olivia's miscarriage and realized the child was almost certainly his. This made him even more afraid to face her. He wondered if she was doing okay. I was completely unaware of Daniel's thoughts. Even if I had known, with his pride, he would never have admitted he was wrong. He would have just kept pushing forward. The child's condition made Daniel afraid to have another child with Isabel. He told her to raise the child herself and to keep him away from the old woman. Isabel agreed verbally, but in her heart, she thought, this is the Zhao family's grandson. If she and Daniel didn't have any more children, then this child would be the sole heir. No matter how sad or unwilling the old woman was, she would eventually soften, and she could clearly feel that Daniel was growing distant. This was something she could not allow. She took the child to the old woman, crying her heart out. Seeing her disabled grandson, the old woman trembled with rage, unable to speak. Just then, Isabel's father, hearing she was at the family home, came to ask the old woman to persuade his daughter. Ever since his investment failed and he lost several hundred million, his daughter had refused to give him any more money. but as soon as he brought it up, the old woman's eyes widened. She had a cerebral hemorrhage and was rushed to the hospital. When the news of the old woman's paralysis reached me, I had just returned to City A. I was just surprised. When she had come to trouble me, she was full of vigor. Only 2 years had passed. How did she end up paralyzed? I didn't dwell on it. The success of my supermarket led me to expand. I hired unemployed people from the local area. I put Tom, an intellectually disabled man who had been raised by the village, in charge of cleaning the supermarket entrance, letting him live there. He was so happy he clapped his hands. Though he was disabled, he was meticulous in his work, and the area was spotless. I trusted everyone, and the villagers were grateful to me. The first Fortune Comes supermarket officially opened. I stood in the center for a group photo. A supermarket in a small county wouldn't make big waves, but to work hard, to keep myself busy, that was my current attitude. After the old woman was paralyzed, Daniel and Isabel separated. He moved into one of his apartments, refusing to see her no matter how many times she tried. Because of all the misfortune after his second marriage, he started to wonder if this was karma, but he quickly dismissed the thought. How could it be karma? It was Olivia who insisted on the divorce. He had never intended to abandon her. Perhaps she had a lover on the side and was eager to leave him. She was the one who had betrayed him. I was completely unaware of Daniel's thoughts. All I can say is, what goes around, comes around. His karma came for him quickly. His second uncle, one of the relatives Isabel had brought into the company, absconded with a huge sum of public funds. He fled abroad overnight, making it difficult to catch him. When Daniel found out, he sat in his office all night, the ashtray overflowing with cigarette butts. His cash flow was broken. My supermarket business was booming, and with my other investments, I had already doubled my 1 billion. Because of my charity work, I was interviewed. Seeing me on TV, radiant and beautiful, Daniel was finally filled with regret. He went back to the villa and saw Isabel, disheveled and in her pajamas, exhausted from taking care of the child. Daniel asked for a divorce. Isabel refused. She was hysterical, laughing and crying. She even threatened to kill herself and the child, which made Daniel temporarily drop the subject. The next time I saw Daniel, I was shocked myself. It was snowing heavily, and he was wearing only a thin sweater. He was gaunt from running around trying to raise funds for his company. He walked up to me, his eyes red, his voice hoarse. I regret it. Olivia, please, come back to me. I slapped him across the face before he could finish. If I hadn't, I would have thrown up the delicious meal I had just eaten. A red handprint appeared on his pale face. His eyes were filled with shock. I immediately called Isabel. I was glad she still came to provoke me from time to time, so I had her contact information. Isabel arrived with the child, laughing and crying and screaming on the side of the road. She even tried to hit me, but Daniel blocked her. Her sharp nails scratched his face. I found the whole scene distasteful and immediately got in my car and went to the airport. I was very busy. I had no time for this pair of lunatics. Daniel didn't come looking for me again. His company was in a serious crisis and couldn't operate. He was overwhelmed. I knew why he had been so frantic that night. He wanted my 1 billion. What a joke. The 1 billion was mine. He couldn't divorce Isabel either. Her family was shameless and demanded an exorbitant settlement. To get a divorce, Daniel would have to be skinned alive. He could only sell his assets to fill the company's holes. In the end, all he had left was a villa and a car, barely enough to get the company through the crisis. But before he could catch his breath, his father-in-law was arrested for stabbing someone to death in the street. The man was despicable. As he was being arrested, he shouted, "My son-in-law is Daniel Zhao, the CEO of the Zhao Corporation. Just you wait. He'll take care of you." This sentence led to Daniel being completely doxxed by netizens. The recovering company was thrown into crisis again. At the same time, an arrogant voice recording of him with Isabel, right after their affair started, was leaked. "Go ahead and cause trouble. I'll take care of it for you." This was a screen recording Isabel had sent to her friends to show off. Netizens started to pity me. The whole story of my entanglement with Daniel was made public. Daniel and Isabel were condemned by everyone. The Zhou Corporation went bankrupt. All their assets were liquidated, and they were forced to rent a dilapidated apartment with their child. Isabel followed Daniel everywhere, terrified he would go back to me, but she couldn't handle the fall from grace. One day, she lashed out, screaming at Daniel for being incompetent. He strangled her to death in their bed, along with the child. The old Zhou grandmother was beaten daily by her caregiver and one day, quietly passed away. When I heard that Daniel was sentenced to death, I couldn't help but sigh. "Ms. Shen, we're ready." I smiled and nodded. Beginning the interview, my supermarket chain grew, and I opened branches all over the country, always staying true to my original mission of doing charity work. My life just kept getting better, and Daniel, who had betrayed true love, became a perfect example of what karma really means.